So today, I want to talk to you guys about weapons. Now, I really am enjoying using the M416 at the moment. This is a weapon I used quite a lot when the game first came out. In fact, I did a video entitled The M416 The Perfect Setup, because for a long time, this was just one of the best weapons to use in the game. Of course, then people started unlocking things like the Ace 23, and the M416 just didn't seem to be quite as good. Now, recently, I have gone back to using this weapon, and it has seen a few improvements over the last couple of patches, and it now is probably one of the best weapons in the game. In fact, in this gameplay, I go 21-2 because I just seem to be pummeling people into the ground with this weapon. So if you haven't gone back to this weapon yet since the release of the game, I would definitely recommend it. But that isn't the weapon I want to talk to you guys about. Today, I want to talk about the 5 brand new weapons we could be receiving with the Dragon's Teeth DLC. Now, this information came to light today, and I was actually going to do a video talking about the 5 weapons I wanted to see with the DLC, but this information has been released by Simthic.com, a website which is very well respected for having all of the information and stats about the weapons in Battlefield 4, so it does seem like it's a very good source for this information, but of course, nothing is 100% confirmed yet. Now, the source for this information has said all of this was apparently found by searching through the game files, so the information regarding these new weapons is already in the game. So let's go ahead and take a look. Now, as we would expect from any DLC in Battlefield 4, we will be receiving 5 new weapons. The first of which is called the Bulldog Assault Rifle. Now, this was found by a small emblem being found within the game files. And this is a bullpup style weapon, so very similar to the FAMAS, the AUG, the SAR-21, which means of course the magazine loads in behind the trigger, so it means it will have a slow reload time. But apparently it has a rate of fire of 700 rounds per minute, has a maximum damage of 34, a minimum damage of 25, and only carries a 21 round magazine, so a very similar model that we see with the Scar H, but of course with that bullpup design it will mean it reloads a little bit slower. But of course that massive damage model will make it very effective at close range. But with that slower rate of fire very similar to the L85, this weapon could have very manageable recoil and great accuracy, which could make it very effective at long range distances as well. Now, moving on down the list, this next weapon probably needs no explanation or introduction. This is the Desert Eagle. Do I need to say much more? Probably one of the most iconic gaming weapons in history. Made popular with the likes of Counter-Strike, Call of Duty, it's probably a weapon that every single gamer knows a lot about and is very fond of. Now, this is a weapon that people have been wanting to see in Battlefield for a very long time, but I understand why it hasn't made an appearance up to this point, and I'm actually quite surprised it is actually making an appearance now, because of course Battlefield is a game that tries to simulate military realism. You've got realistic weapons, realistic vehicles, realistic units, and whilst the Desert Eagle is of course a real weapon, it's not one used by many militaries, because of course it's a very, very big pistol. It takes a huge 50 caliber round. It's a very expensive weapon. The ammunition is very expensive, so giving this weapon as a sidearm to the army is going to be very expensive and not very cost effective. So this is more the type of weapon you see purchased privately by enthusiasts and weapon collectors in countries that allow it. So it's not the kind of weapon you usually see in this style of game that's trying to replicate realistic military weapons. But all the same, it's going to be very cool to see this addition to the game. Now, it's going to be interesting to see how this weapon is balanced. Of course, such a huge caliber round like that has got to do some damage at close range. It's probably going to be one of the most powerful pistols in the game. So how they balance that, of course, it is a semi-automatic weapon, so maybe you'll have a small magazine or a lot of recoil. If you're trying to blast it very, very quickly, it might start spraying rounds off everywhere. But either way, it's going to be interesting to see how this weapon is balanced. Now, sticking with secondary weapons, the third gun on the list is called the Unica 6, or the Matador Auto Revolver. This is an Italian-made weapon that takes 6 rounds in the cylinder and actually has 3 different caliber variants. So which caliber we're going to see in the game yet, we don't know, but they come in 357 Magnum, 44 Magnum and 454 Casull, all of which are pretty big rounds, so either way, this weapon is definitely going to pack a punch. Now, hopefully this weapon won't have the same trigger delay we see on the Magnum and the Rex, and will be a little bit more like the SW40 we saw in the Naval Strike DLC. Now, moving on to the fourth and probably my favourite weapon on the list, and that is because this is a weapon that not so long ago I actually suggested I wanted to see in the game. In fact, I mentioned it in 2 separate videos, And I do know there are some DICE developers out there who watch my content, they speak to me regularly on Twitter, and of course I've met some of these guys in real life, so maybe we're seeing this weapon in the game because of my influence, or maybe not. But either way, this is the SIG MPX. This is a PDW or SMG. It takes a 30 round magazine and fires a 9mm round. Now there are actually a few different variants of the SIG MPX. You can get some with a longer barrel that class as a carbine, you can get some with a very short barrel that class as a SMG, so whether or not this weapon will fit into the carbine category and be available for everyone, or the PDW category and be available only for the engineer class, we are yet to find out. But either way, it's very cool to see this weapon in the game, and it's very cool to see that DICE are listening, especially to me. Now finally, moving on to the last weapon of the day, for all you recon players out there, we have the CS5 sniper rifle. Now this is a MACMILLAN rifle, which I think I'm right in thinking we haven't seen in Battlefield before. It's a bolt action weapon, so it's not a semi-automatic DMR style weapon, and it carries a 308 Winchester round, so a very large caliber round, so it could be very, very powerful. I'm thinking the way it looks and the way it feels could be very similar to the SRR-61. So that wraps up the 5 new weapons we will be receiving, hopefully, in the Dragon's Teeth DLC alongside the Riot Shield, which we've now been told, but not confirmed, that this is only going to be available to the support class. So it's going to be a two-handed piece of kit. You can't carry a sidearm with it, a small SMG. So it's going to be a very restricted tool, but probably very useful if you're trying to come up in a lift and there's going to be enemy players trying to kill you or camp at the top of the lift. It could prove very useful. But either way, I want to hear from you down in the comments below. Is this list of weapons something you're pleased to see? Maybe some of these guns don't sound that exciting to you. Which other weapons would you have wanted to see in this DLC? Tell me all down in the comments below. And of course, if you did enjoy this video, please do hit like. It really does help me out and does mean a lot to me. But in the meantime, guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.